Stop watching self-improvement videos. This might really strike a chord with you. For some of us, it's time to move to the next stage of things. It's very easy to unconsciously watch self-improvement video after self-improvement video, and then you feel like nothing's really changing. The problem is a lot of these channels, this video advice that you find on the internet, it's full of half-truths. It's very focused on the external results, but it's missing the spiritual aspect altogether. And spirituality is reality. The deeper that you go within yourself, the more you realize that it colors everything in the external world. You can gain the whole world and lose your soul. And perfect examples of that is celebrities that you see. They have millions and millions of dollars, all of the external validation that you could possibly ever want from other people. And yet there's countless celebrities that commit suicide. They take their own life. And that's something that these self-improvement channels don't talk about. And I understand, oftentimes the desire to make videos that will help you sell your products, that will help you monetize, that can become the focus. And here I am telling you, as a self-improvement YouTube channel, that maybe you should stop watching these videos. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever got came to me in meditation. And this is something that I have been applying. And I love when very complex universal truths can be summed up in the simplest language possible. I oftentimes need that in order to apply things. And I'm going to give you this piece of advice, and I want you to implement this and start applying it right away. In every given moment, when you're faced with decisions, when you don't know what to do with yourself, or you're about to do something, the question to ask yourself is, does this feel good, or does this feel right? That might seem like an oversimplification, but it's not. There are many things in life that do not feel good, but when you do them, it feels right on that deeper part of you, the conscience within you, the higher self, the voice of God within you. A perfect example would be someone who is out of shape, doesn't eat food that's full of nutrients. This is a vice that they use to numb themselves and prevent themselves from facing previous wounds that need their attention and need healing. But whenever they do the work, whenever they make a better decision, whenever they go to the gym, it doesn't feel good. It's painful. It might drudge up things like sadness and anger. But oftentimes getting rid of vices, it's not just about the result of getting rid of the vice. It's about the things that you have to face in the process of getting rid of the vice. The external result is just the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. So for you, you might be in a place where it's time to stop watching these videos, or stop watching the videos that are a bit more on the surface level and bring up a feeling of shame and guilt within you. There's a lot of masculine self-improvement channels that give you this brief kick of motivation, and it's rooted in shame. And that's an okay place to start, but if you stay there, you're not going to be able to sustain it. You're not going to be able to sustain results. And if you do, you can end up in that same place where you gain the world but lose your soul. Because even if you have all the external results in the world, you're ripped with six-pack abs, you have millions of dollars, girls want you, I promise you, you will hit a wall where you will still have that empty void within you that you think all these things will fill. And it's okay to still strive for these outward things. But my goal for you is to strive for the external results with conscious awareness, while also doing the inner work, being in touch with spirituality and your higher self. And this brings a different energy to the self-improvement process. It becomes less about constantly beating yourself up and more so being curious about the wounds and traumas that you have that are causing you to be attracted to certain vices to begin with. So again, deeper conscious self-improvement can be summed up with that question. Does this feel good or does this feel right? There will be moments where certain things both feel good and feel right. Sometimes with this YouTube channel, getting to talk to certain men that have reached out to me, that I've had one-on-one sessions with, some of the men that are in the conscious community, I'm starting to get these moments where it both feels good and feels right. And what eventually happens is the good feelings start to increase because you start to love what feels right, even if it initially doesn't feel good from the start. I know that's a bit of a mind fuck, but I've gotten to this place where it just feels so good to do what feels right. When I take time to meditate and give attention to those wounded parts of me, it doesn't feel good, but it feels right. And because it feels right, it starts to feel good knowing that I'm doing the right thing. Language is very difficult. A lot of these downloads that I get in meditation, whenever I'm speaking to God, I'm becoming more comfortable with that word lately, God. To really self-improve, you have to stop running away from the things that you've been running away from. The pieces of yourself, the wounded kid that you don't want to look at. There's a feminine energy inside of you. Even the most masculine, most jacked, tatted man that you could ever come across has feminine energy within him. He might be repressing it, but when you integrate that feminine energy within you, it brings this healing property that allows you to give attention to those things that can put you on the path to healing. And then vices, they start to fall off and they stay gone. They don't come back because the root, the wounds that were causing the vices to begin with, have been dealt with. So a lot of self-improvement, a lot of these videos, they're treating symptoms. Fix the external, keep fixing the external, get more money, get more women, get more jacked, and this will fix all your problems. It'll make your ego feel good for a time. But then those things will creep their way back into your life because you're still a wounded little kid on the inside. Let's talk about money for a second. A universal truth that I have found throughout my 36 years of living is the more that you obsess over money, the more it eludes you, the more difficult it becomes to acquire. You can still acquire it, but it's just so heavy. You have to put in all this grueling work and it's just so heavy. When you start to let go of money and focus on giving value, I'm sure you've heard that term, self-improvement in financial spaces, giving value. But let's define value in a different way. By becoming the full, integrated, healed version of yourself, the value that you start to give comes from a place of universal truth, from something higher, from spending time alone in meditation, from going within, spending time with the voice of your conscience and the voice of God. And then you can speak from a place of knowing and conviction and love because of the inner work that you've done on yourself. And people who are also on that path can sense this. And then what happens? They literally start to throw money at you because they want to know what you know. They want to know about your experiences because they resonate with it so deeply. And it becomes this win-win situation where while you're just focusing on healing yourself, becoming more connected with your God consciousness and the spiritual aspects of this reality, the people that are also on that path are going to be attracted to you. But the motivation can't be money. The motivation can't initially be money. It's to be whole and integrated and healed and to be able to give to the world, to give real value to the world. And what is that value? It's helping people see themselves People don't see themselves. They just think that they are their accomplishments. They think they're the girls that they're dating. They think that they're the body that they have. And most men's self-improvement channels are missing the spiritual aspect, which is the most important part. Again, you can gain the whole world and lose your soul, and that is not what I want for you. So, go within. Does it feel right to keep watching self-improvement videos? Maybe it does for you, but get honest with yourself. You might be beyond that stage. Okay? And if you do still feel like you're in that stage of consuming self-improvement videos, then try to be as conscious as possible. When you're watching it, consume the meat, spit out the bones, the aspects of it that give you this sense of lack and fear. Bring attention to that. A lot of these self-improvement guys know that they can emotionally trigger you, put you deeper into that void within you. Be like, look, you've got this void because you're fat, or you don't have the women, or you don't have the money. Buy my program so that way you can work on being worthy. That's not where it's at. That is not where it's at. And that doesn't mean reject the external. You can still work on the external, but you can do it from a place of lightness and self-love. But it begins with the spiritual aspect. And as you start to love yourself, it becomes a lot harder to be fat and unhealthy, because that is unloving. You start to become so overwhelmed with love for yourself, the way that you would love a son or a daughter, that you naturally start to take care of yourself. You start to make better choices. You start to exercise. You start to give yourself the time and rest that you need. You start to meditate. You start to journal. You start to do all these things. So I hope this helps you. And again, bring it back to the simplified questions of, does this feel good? Does my ego just really enjoy this? Or does it feel right? Because sometimes what feels right doesn't always feel good, but in the long run, it's what you actually want. That's all for this video. You can watch this video, but only if it feels right. You are loved, you matter, and you've barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. I'll talk to you soon.